popular. She knows about popular. I'm Ruby Carr, and this is the story of Ariana Grande's One Last Time.
You know the songs.
Just making people feel something.
It's been a pleasure to work on this song with her.
But do you know the history?
It's a struggle making any kind of record.
I don't always have the direction or concept.
This is Encore, an in-depth look at the stories behind the music. Here's iHeartRadio's Ruby Carr.
There are few artists that truly define pop music and pop stardom like Ariana Grande, one of the most streamed artists of all time. Like I said, popular. According to Spotify, Grande was the first female artist ever to receive over 90 billion total streams, and as of this year, the first female artist to have no less than 20 songs hit 1 billion streams each. Needless to say, this streaming success is not the only metric that defines Ariana Grande's success. She's sold an estimated 90 million plus records worldwide and has celebrated with 2 Grammy Awards, a Brit Award, 2 Billboard Music Awards, 3 American Music Awards, 13 MTV VMAs, including 3 this year, and 7 iHeartRadio Music Awards, although technically one was for her dog Toulouse, but we'll give it to her. Obviously, Ari isn't just a pop star either. Her work on the big screen adaptation of the stage musical Wicked solidified her as a true Hollywood powerhouse. And of course, she's historically no stranger to the Broadway stage or the world of television. So it's safe to say she's kind of a big deal. After breaking out in the world of musical theater in the Broadway production of 13 in 2008 at the age of 15, Ariana Grande became a teen household name. Not as a Disney kid like many of her contemporaries of the era, but as a Nickelodeon kid as Cat Valentine on the hit series Victorious, and the incredibly short-lived Victorious meets iCarly spin-off series Sam and Cat. To be honest, based on the allegations and accusations of the production staff involved with those particular shows and the toll it took on co-star Jeanette McCurdy's career and mental health, it's of little surprise that Grande distanced herself very quickly from the TV shows once music opportunities began presenting themselves to her. Grande signed to Universal Republic Records in August of 2011 and would release her very first single, the incredibly bubblegummy pop-sounding Put Your Hearts Up, by the end of the year. Fun fact about that non-album track, by the way, if you've never heard it, it's got a writing credit to Four Non-Blondes' Linda Perry, as it's actually a heavy interpolation of their 1993 hit What's Up, which is a choice. Instead of the classic "What's Going On" refrain, Grande sings, "If we give a little love, maybe we can change the world. Sing it if you're with me, all you boys and all you girls," over top of possibly the most 2011 sounding synth lines of all time. Grande would actually eventually disown her first single, telling Rolling Stone in 2014, "It was geared toward kids and felt so inauthentic and fake. That was the worst moment of my life. For the video, they gave me a bad spray tan and put me in a princess dress and had me frolic around the street. The whole thing was straight out of hell. I still have nightmares about it, and I made them hide it on my Vivo page." She would walk the statements back a bit in 2020, telling Zach Sang that she actually didn't hate the song, but was caught in a weird position between acting on a kids show and trying to be a recording artist, and that really the song probably just should have been bestowed upon someone else who was more into the bubblegum pop sound. After doing a few more tracks with the cast of Victorious, Ariana Grande finally released her debut album, Yours Truly, in August of 2013, not too long after signing with famed Uber manager Scooter Braun. Originally conceptualized as music similar to Put Your Hearts Up, Ari would hold meetings with her label to let them know this was not the type of music she was interested in making.
I quite like the 90s R&B throwback stuff you're doing right now. So is that what the whole album's going to be when it comes out?
No, like some of it is like that. There's a good 4 or 5 songs that are like that. But the rest it sort of throws back to a doo-wop vibe, like 60s, 50s, and it's still super soulful and R&B, but it's just a weird pop throwback concoction. The whole thing is really just throwback inspired pop, both from the 90s and from the 50s, 60s.
She would expand a bit more in an interview with MTV, telling the outlet that she was introducing the real Ariana, saying, "I'm very excited for fans to hear the entire album because half of it is that throwback 90s R&B feel, but then the other half is something that is very unique and very special that I've sort of written, and it feels original and very cool. Growing up, I loved listening to like the divas of the 90s. I loved listening to, well, Destiny's Child was my favorite thing about my childhood, like my favorite thing. And Brandy and all of these fabulous women that I loved listening to as a child. I guess I just missed that sort of real fun R&B feel-good music. Fans can get to know me as Ariana. I'm very excited for that. It's very personal. It's super personal, and it means a lot to me." Side note, this episode is being written just days after Ari presented Mariah Carey with the MTV VMA Vanguard Award. The way too cute interaction between the two went a little bit viral after the fact because of how clear it was that Grande just revered Mariah. So say what you want, but our girl is consistent. Speaking of consistency, Grande called in 90s R&B legend Babyface to produce that aforementioned first half of the record, including second single Baby I. To keep it contemporary, Grande also worked closely with up-and-coming producer Harmony Samuels. Samuels would produce the other two singles from Yours Truly, lead-off single The Way featuring the late Mac Miller, and third single Right There featuring Big Sean. Incidentally, Ariana Grande would enter romantic relationships with Sean and Miller in the years that followed. It's pretty cute, actually. Long before Grande was an item with either rapper, she was dishing to Much how she first met Big Sean and why she chose to kiss Mac Miller in The Way.
It's really random. I met him at an event and I loved him. I thought he was the coolest and we took a picture and that was great. And then at the next event I saw him at, he was like, "Hey, why didn't you hit me back?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "On Twitter, I DM'd you." Jousting again in the hallway. Who's winning? No. And he was like, "Yeah, I DM'd you." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's crazy." And so then we just exchanged numbers and we've hung out a couple times and he's really nice. And we'd been trying to find a song to make into a duet for a really long time. We just couldn't find the right vibe, but now it's finally right. I think Right There is the perfect match for the two of us.
So what about Mac Miller? All these guys reaching out to you because they hear your voice. Obviously, everyone's attracted to your voice, which is great because it's the talent about you. You know what I mean? It's not really anything else at this point. So are they reaching out to you and saying, let's do music?
Well, Mac reached out about a year ago on Twitter again. And he was like, "Hey, Larry Lovestein wants to do a duet with you." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And so we exchanged numbers and one night he was like, "Hey, come over, let's make Christmas music." And I was like, "Okay." And then we made a Christmas song, and from then on it was just he's become one of my best friends. I love him, he's amazing. And we just hang out and make music all the time.
Now, why Christmas music? Because you tweeted today that you're going to put out more stuff before the end of the year with him. Christmas songs.
Yeah, well, it was Christmas time at the time. Well, no, it was a little before Christmas at that time, so we wanted to make something. And we did a cover of Baby It's Cold Outside. And, and that was it. I don't know. But whenever we hang out, we make really weird, experimental, cool music that probably will never play on the radio, but it's really cool and fun.
Was there any apprehension about kissing him in the music video? It's a hot video, but at the same time, it gets people talking. Was it
No, it's fun. It gets people to come watch the video, and, it was just, this song is so fun and flirty and romantic. It was just fun, I didn't want it to just be a girl in a dress bouncing around in balloons the whole time,
next level.
The record was positively reviewed by most outlets thanks to Grande's incredible 4-octave vocal range. Honestly, if I could sing like her, I would never stop singing. And her commitment to her sound and commitment to artistic integrity. The New York Times' John Caramanica summed it up when he compared Ariana and her debut to other mainstream pop institutions, writing, "Ariana Grande has become the first identifiable post-Glee Idol pop star. Idol and Glee have been responsible for an intense surge of interest in music on television, but they haven't left much of a mark on the shape of pop. That's because both shows are about emulating, not innovating. Grande uses them as a foundation and innovates atop them. She uses the Glee Idol template as a jumping-off point to make modern pop R&B with a sturdy vintage backbone." Miss Grande is almost there. She has a lithe voice and is capable of real power, though she doles it out carefully. Like that other child TV star turned popcomer Miley Cyrus, Miss Grande is 20, but her slide into maturity isn't moving at Miss Cyrus's warp speed. Miss Grande's version of adulthood is about expertise, not transgression. I mean, I don't know why he had to compare the two, but I guess it's because they always do. Anyway. After wowing crowds on the 2013 MTV VMAs pre-show, yes, you heard that right, pre-show, yours truly would debut at number 1 on the Billboard 200, and she'd become the first female debut since Kesha's Animal in 2010 to do so. Something else that was hilariously noted at the time was how well she did in digital sales. Of the 138,000 first-week sales, 108,000 of them were digital downloads. Don't get me wrong, we were well past the point of no return for CD sales, being the undisputed king in the music industry, but I do get a little kick out of the record industry bean counters, like sitting around a boardroom going, "This Grande girl is quite hip with the kids." It seems as if many of them are purchasing her music from the internet. Still nowhere near a mega star, lead single The Way did crack the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100 as radio, but all of that was about to change very soon.
I met Rihanna, which was
saw your photo.
I died. I literally died. My mom literally was pushing me up to her like, "Ariana, go, because I love her so much." And I was like, she's like, "Excuse me, Rihanna, my daughter just," and she turned around and she was like, "Oh, I love you." And I was like,
Yes. Everyone knows who you are.
That's not true. I'm not ready for things like that. Rihanna was so sweet to me and so complimentary and so nice, and she was just really like the kindest, most down-to-earth, sweetest thing. I love her.
It's funny because we saw you go through a meet and greet, and those are the girls, they're all crying and bawling on the way out because they just met you, and in fact, you feel the same way when you meet, all these other people.
Well, yeah, especially Rihanna. I love her so much, but yeah.
Ari would take a brief pit stop from contemporary pop music to release the Christmas Kisses EP, which mostly consisted of cover songs, but would later become somewhat infamous for the Japanese deluxe version of the CD, which included the track Santa Tell Me. An alternate version of the song contained some pretty not safe for work lyrics for a Christmas song. Our sister podcast, Behind the Christmas Hits, actually did a great recap on the song a couple years back, so I'll link it in the description of this episode so that you can check it out. With Christmas out of the way, Ariana Grande would release her sophomore album, My Everything, in August of 2014, which sources are telling me was 11 years ago. Sorry, just had a bit of a existential crisis there. I'm fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. That was 11 years ago. Sure, it's fine. This time around, Ariana was firing on all cylinders, working with a who's who of collaborators, writers, and producers, including the likes of Max Martin, Benny Blanco, Ryan Tedder, Shellback, Zed, and notably Savan Kotecha, who you may recall was responsible for One Direction's breakthrough hit, What Makes You Beautiful. Kotecha was the co-writer on every single one of My Everything singles, including lead-off banger Problem featuring Iggy Azalea, EDM supercut Break Free featuring Zed, Girl Gang Anthem Bang Bang featuring Nicki Minaj and Jessie J, which also appeared on Jessie J's album Sweet Talker, the way ahead of its time Love Me Harder featuring up-and-comer The Weeknd, and of course the subject of this episode, I mean, technically, there's a lot on this episode, but One Last Time. You won't be surprised to hear that, of course, all these singles are comfortably in the aforementioned billion stream club and also helped the record go 4 times platinum in the States and 5 times platinum here in Canada. The first 4 singles would all chart in the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100, achieving multi-platinum status. Technically, Bang Bang went diamond, which is even better than multi-platinum. It was the album's 5th and final single, One Last Time, though, that we're zooming in on. Because of all the songs released in the My Everything era, it was the only one released 4 times. Yes, originally released just in time for Valentine's Day on February 10th, 2015, One Last Time does not feature writing from Grande herself. Written by Kotecha, his constant collaborators Rami Jacob and Carl Falk, the team also collaborated with superstar DJ David Guetta and his production protege Giorgio Tuyenfort. Guetta was actually hoping to put it on one of his albums, but didn't feel like it felt cohesive to the sound he was looking for. One Last Time is unique in the sense that it kind of sort of sounds like a regretful love-lost ballad, and certainly could be lyrically read as one, with Grande's vocal range on full display from low and sultry to high and airy as she belts out lines like, "And I know she gives you everything, but boy, I couldn't give it to you, and I know that you got everything, and I got nothing here without you." But the song's pulsing up-tempo EDM beat and surging synth line allow it to shine as just as much of a club banger as anything else at the time. But better. Reviewed incredibly positively by most outlets, Nick Levine of Time Out summed it up nicely by describing the hit as serving club pop with a side of melancholy. Couldn't have put it better myself. And you can't say it wasn't ubiquitous. The song was actually re-released 2 more times in 2015 alone. It was re-released just 6 days later in Belgium, Switzerland, and France as a duet with French singer Kenji Girac, who claims it was essentially corporate synergy that got him the duet feature, and was released again in Italy by Italian rapper Fedez. You can hear the Kenji duet pretty easily these days on all major streaming platforms, but the Fedez version is a bit harder to find. The song and its video, I must note, were not without their own controversies. First, the ambitious, futuristic, post-apocalyptic music video directed by Max Landis that stars Ariana and her victorious co-star Matt Bennett faced plagiarism accusations by Australian band Safia for copying the video for their song You Are the One. In their accusation, they noted the single tracking shot used in the video, as well as the beginning and ending of the video being creatively similar. Landis would acknowledge the similarities between his video and You Are the One's, but would deny that he stole anything from Safia, noting works by other music video directors released previously to both of theirs that had just as many similarities. For what it's worth, I watched both videos and sure, it's got a person running out of a car after a citywide catastrophe. It ends with a bleak lover's embrace, but I'm not entirely sure One Last Time could be definitively seen as plagiarizing the clip. Watch for yourself. Let me know what you think. Because let's be honest, there is such a thing as parallel thinking. Next, in August 2016, Alex Greggs filed a lawsuit against Grande, her co-writers, Universal Music Group, and Republic Records for copyright infringement of the song Takes All Night by Sky Stevens, a song which he wrote. Similarities could certainly be found if you were really looking for them, but the case was dismissed in 2018. In its initial release, One Last Time was technically the least successful of My Everything's 5 singles, only 5 times platinum here in Canada, for example. Although that's a judgment made on an incredibly high bar. In fact, back in 2015, as the song was gaining popularity, the industry pro section of Billboard magazine marveled at Grande's ability to keep collecting hits. Writer Gary Trust compared Grande's remarkable radio run to the likes of Katy Perry's 5-time single run on Teenage Dream, ending with, of course, the whimsical Last Friday Night, and Michael Jackson's single number 5, Dirty Diana from 1987's Bad. Of course, for the song's final re-release, if you're listening to this episode and are up on your Ariana Grande history or your history in general, you know where we so unfortunately have to go next, and that's 2017. Okay, so just a quick content warning here, since it's so crucial to the story of this song and the song's impact on society. If you happen to be unfamiliar with the story of the Manchester Arena bombing, it is some pretty horrific and tragic stuff. I'm going to play you a quick summary of the details of the attack by ABC News before we also hear from Ariana herself in their world exclusive on her memories of that night. The initial clip is about 35 seconds long. It's not graphic, but if you'd rather skip it, you can do that now.
It was 10:30 p.m. on May 22nd. Ariana Grande had just finished her sold-out concert for 20,000 at Manchester Arena when an explosion rocked the stadium. Inside the crowd, many young children and teenagers with their parents racing for the exits. Outside, mayhem. Police later confirming a suicide bomber had killed 22 and injured hundreds.
Yes, 22 people were killed that night, with over 1,000 more injured. The deadliest act of terrorism in over a decade in the UK. As she explained to Michael Strahan, at first, she wasn't sure if she'd ever perform again.
And I was like, I can't. I was like, I'm not putting those costumes on again. I can't sing those songs again.
You were done.
I was like, I can't. I was like, I love y'all. I can't do it. I was like, there's no way. And then I was trying to go to sleep that night, and it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like the right decision. I think we should set a better example and kind of like celebrate their lives, you know what I mean? And try to like not let hate or like violence or any kind of darkness of that magnitude win in the scenario.
Manchester, I love you with all my heart.
Returning less than 2 weeks later for the One Love Manchester concert, Grande and a host of stars took the stage in front of more than 50,000 joyous fans.
Bluebirds fly, we are the rainbow. Why?
I think a mixture of just like the love from my fans and like seeing people be there for one another and help each other heal, and therapy and time, everything, you know, you find the light eventually, and it's still, you know, a work in progress, but I think the sense of community that I saw in response to what happened was the best example of humanity.
Stunningly, only 2 weeks later, with the help of Simon Moran, Melvin Benn, and Ari's manager Scooter Braun, the group organized the massive One Love Manchester benefit concert at the Old Trafford Cricket Ground on June 4th, 2017. With a runtime of about 3 hours and 20 minutes and 55,000 plus in attendance. Guests performing on the stage that night included Robbie Williams, Pharrell, Miley Cyrus, Niall Horan, Black Eyed Peas, aptly performing Where Is the Love with Ariana Grande, Mac Miller, Katy Perry, Justin Bieber, Coldplay, Liam Gallagher of Manchester's own Oasis, and of course Ariana Grande, essentially punctuating the entire concert with her own impressive catalog of hits. She had just released the iconic Dangerous Woman, after all. While she finished with an incredibly emotional rendition of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, it was One Last Time, performed just before that, with every single artist featured that night in choir, that just really stole the show. Suddenly, those lyrics of One Last Time, I Need to Be the One Who Takes You Home, had this all-new, incredibly poignant meaning to them as the global audience watched and listened. I'm sorry, it just makes me tear up talking about it right now, too. Okay, of the event, Francis Wilkinson in Bloomberg.com wrote, Grande offered a face that was brave and kind in the wake of terror while accomplishing several useful goals, raising money for victims, bolstering courage, and making the attacks look both puny and pointless. Whatever the terrorists had hoped to produce in Manchester, it certainly wasn't this party. But as Scooter Braun so rightly put it in an interview with Billboard, the city of Manchester was the real hero. Here he is giving a little more background on the effects of the attack on some of the families, Ariana and himself, with NPR.
I remember we met with the families 2 days before we did the show, privately. And at first she was crying, and it was very difficult. And about the sixth family that came in, I haven't talked about this in a while, was a father my age. And he'd lost his kid and his wife. And he had 2 more children. And seeing him, I was being strong for Ariana, but when I saw a father my age in that position, I broke down, lost it, had to leave the room. And she became my support system.
The benefit concert itself raised in excess of £17 million, and immediately following the concert, Grande also re-released One Last Time, with all proceeds also being donated to the cause. Arianators everywhere, but especially in England, took the cause seriously. The song quickly went to number 2 in the UK, going platinum within a week, and now sits at about quadruple platinum in the UK alone, mostly off the back of the 2017 re-release. In the years that followed, Ariana Grande would play One Last Time on tour a handful of times, less and less with each passing year due to the trauma that still existed for her, and would essentially retire the song after playing an acoustic version at Manchester Pride. It's crazy to think that in the 7 years that followed, 2019's Sweetener Tour was, at the time of recording, her last official tour, which means, partially thanks to the pandemic, we actually don't know if she'll ever take the song out of retirement again. But I guess we'll see, because literally as this episode is being finished, Grande has added 9 additional dates to her first tour in 7 years, the Eternal Sunshine Tour, including a third stop in Montreal on July 31st, 2026, her only Canadian stops at the time of recording. What's almost for certain is that Ari will be playing plenty of hits off of the albums that followed My Everything, including any of her 9 #1 singles that all occurred after the release of One Last Time. What are those hits, you ask? Well, you'll just have to keep listening to Encore, the stories behind the songs you love, wherever you get your podcasts, in case we do a future episode on one of them. But in the meantime, I'm politely asking one last time, does anyone have a spare ticket to Montreal? I'm Ruby Carr. Thanks for listening to Encore. This was a tough one, but a true testament to the power of music and togetherness. New episodes of Encore every Thursday.
Encore is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Download the free iHeartRadio app and subscribe.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.